Tiana Facey was a kind of nurse people didn't just remember. They cherished her. Her patients called her an angel in scrubs. Colleagues leaned on her, not just for her medical skill, but for her presence. She brought calm into chaos. At just 29, she had the kind of empathy that made people believe again in the good in the world. She worked the night shift at Briar Ridge Medical Center, a sprawling hospital in upstate New York, where under the sterile lights and the endless alarms, Tiana was a rare source of warmth. But what happened to Nurse Facey in the early hours of March 2nd would shake a nation to its core, and what unraveled in the weeks after would expose a system so fractured, so corrupt, that the name Facey would become a rallying cry from coast to coast. It began with a voicemail. Tiana's sister, Layla, died at 2:43 a.m. Tiana's voice trembled on the recording. Layla, something's happening at work. I found something. It's bigger than I thought. They're covering it up. If something happens to me, don't let it go. That was the last time anyone heard her voice. By morning, Tiana Facey was dead. The hospital said she collapsed in the staff lounge. Cardiac arrest. They said she had a history of anxiety. No signs of foul play. No autopsy. But something didn't add up. 3 weeks before her death, Tiana had confided in her best friend and co-worker, Rosa Velasquez. According to Rosa, Tiana had stumbled across a series of internal memos and files. Files suggesting that patients in the psychiatric wing were being sedated without medical necessity, some forcibly restrained for hours, others discharged early to free up beds for higher-paying insurance cases. She told me she felt like she was standing on a landmine. Rosa would later say during an interview, she couldn't sleep. She knew if she exposed it, she could lose everything. But she said, if I stay silent, I'm part of it. Tiana began documenting everything. Photos, charts, doctor signatures. She emailed herself copies, kept a journal, but she also started looking over her shoulder. Rosa said Tiana believed her phone was being monitored. Her locker was broken into. Once, her car had been moved from where she parked it. She started saying things like, if anything happens to me, don't believe what they say, Rosa recalled, tears choking her voice. I thought she was just scared. I didn't think she was right. But she was. Security footage shows Tiana clocking in at 6:58 p.m., March 1st. She looked exhausted, hair tied up, bag over her shoulder. At 9:11 p.m., she logged into the nurse's station computer. That was the last digital trace of her. At 3:27 a.m., a code blue was called. Tiana was found unresponsive in the staff lounge. The hospital declared her dead at 3:49 a.m. Within hours, a brief internal memo was issued. Nurse Tiana Facey passed away due to natural causes. No further explanation. Layla was the first to push back. My sister was healthy. She ran 5 Burmese chots. She didn't just drop dead at 29. When she requested the autopsy, she was denied. The hospital claimed it wasn't required. When she asked for Tiana's belongings, her phone, her bag, her locker contents, only a few items were returned. The journal was missing. The USB Tiana carried was gone. 1 week later, Rosa found something. Hidden beneath the floorboard in Tiana's apartment was a sealed envelope addressed simply, "If I'm gone." Inside were screenshots, printed emails, and a flash drive. The contents were damning. They showed a pattern of patient abuse going back over 2 years. Notes signed off by doctors who weren't on shift. Patients listed as discharged who hadn't been. Restraint logs with falsified times. And a spreadsheet marked high-risk profiles that appear to categorize psychiatric patients by profitability. Rosa handed everything to Layla. They went public. On March 18th, investigative journalist Naomi Chun with the Beacon Ledger published a bombshell report titled, "Nurse's Mysterious Death Tied to Hospital Scandal?" The article went viral overnight. Hashtag Justice for Nurse Facey began trending within 24 hours. Reddit threads exploded with theories, some claiming murder, others suggesting a massive healthcare cover-up. Then came the TikToks, emotional videos of nurses holding up signs that read, "We are all Facey." Former patients of Briar Ridge came forward with their own stories, misdiagnoses, cruel treatment, unexplained billing charges. The pressure mounted. Protesters gathered outside Briar Ridge with candles, chanting her name. News trucks lined the street. The hospital released a statement calling her death tragic, but maintained there was no wrongdoing. Few believed them. By April, the case had gone national. Senator Elaine Burrows held a press conference calling for a federal investigation into Briar Ridge and urging a national whistleblower protection act for healthcare workers. She stood up for the voiceless, Burrows said, and she died alone in a system designed to silence her. Layla testified in front of Congress, holding up her sister's nurse badge. My sister wasn't just a nurse. She was a shield. She died trying to protect people. And now, I'm here to protect her name. On April 27th, an anonymous source sent footage to the Beacon Ledger. Security camera footage. Timestamp 2:16 a.m., less than an hour before Tiana's death. The footage showed two unidentified men in suits entering the restricted records room. One carried a laptop bag. At 2:42 a.m., power to a portion of the hospital briefly cut out. At 2:43 a.m., Tiana called her sister, leaving the voicemail. What happened during that blackout remains unknown. Hospital administrators denied any tampering, but staff reported that several medical records were inaccessible the next morning. The FBI stepped in. Across the country, vigils erupted. Nurses from Oregon to Florida posted tributes. A mural of Nurse Facey went up in downtown Brooklyn, her smiling face beneath the words, "She cared." They didn't. Celebrities tweeted in support. Oprah mentioned her on air. Don Lemon hosted a full segment on the case. Even Beyoncé posted a tribute. Nurse Tiana Facey, your courage is not forgotten. A GoFundMe for Layla's legal efforts raised over $1.2 million in 3 weeks. But the hospital? Still silent. On May 9th, after weeks of silence, the New York State Medical Board suspended licenses of 3 senior staff members at Briar Ridge pending investigation. The psychiatric unit was temporarily shut down, but no arrests, no charges, and still no autopsy. Then, on May 17th, a former hospital IT worker leaked an internal risk assessment. It confirmed what many feared. Tiana's whistleblowing had been flagged internally weeks before her death. Her name was on a list of watch personnel. The assessment included recommendations for containment and HR exit strategies. The document was marked confidential. Within 48 hours, thousands descended on Briar Ridge for the largest healthcare protest in the hospital's history. Nurses locked arms. Protesters held photos of Tiana in front of riot shields. Several were arrested. Layla stood on the steps and shouted into a megaphone. They thought she was just a nurse. They thought we'd forget, but this is only the beginning. As of today, no one has been arrested for Tiana Facey's death. The official cause remains cardiac arrest. The autopsy never happened, but millions now know her name. At the edge of town, just outside a community park where Tiana used to jog, there's a bench now. It reads, "In loving memory of Nurse Tiana Facey, she gave her life trying to save others. May her truth never be silenced." Layla visits every Sunday. Sometimes she brings flowers. Sometimes she just sits. Once, she whispered to a reporter, "She warned me. She knew. And now I know what I have to do." The movement hasn't stopped. Petitions are gaining millions of signatures. Congress is drafting the Facey Act, a federal bill to protect whistleblowers in healthcare. And every day, somewhere in America, someone posts, #Justice for Nurse Facey, and the world listens. If this story moved you, don't let it end here. Share Nurse Facey's story. Demand justice. Sign the petition below. Subscribe for more real and heartbreaking stories like this. And remember, one voice can spark a movement.